a private chat
And the public chat. Okay.
and the public chat. Hello, everyone. We are live,
Hello.
I believe.
We originally were going to go live at 10, but your girl. Oh, I can hear myself on Twitch. Let me turn this off. This is a common issue for me is I have Twitch open in a tab and then I'll start talking on Twitch and I'm like, oh my God, who's that annoying high-pitched girl talking? Oh, it's me. Hi, everyone.
What a way to describe yourself.
I was like, this is a lot. We are live. We originally were going to be live at 10, but your girl had to put on her mascara and figure out sound and everything like that. But we're here now. We're live, Daniel. This is happening. We've talked about this for so long, and now it's really happening.
It's really happening.
And we have
It's
two
exciting.
people tuning in. What a time to be alive. We, of course, are testing out. Did we put the name of this up on the stuff? Oh, I need to go in and change that thing that you told me to do, Daniel. How do I do that?
No, don't worry. I already did it for
Oh,
you.
yay. Awesome. This is great content. Hi, everyone. This is a new show that we're testing out. Daniel, would you love to tell the lovely people at home what this show is named?
Yeah, so Chloe, in her Chloe-ness, has come up with this amazing name for the show called AdoptaDev.
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 Theme song coming soon. AdoptaDev.
So yeah, AdoptaDev is a new podcast / Twitch stream where we interview and showcase all of the lovely talent that's coming up in tech. So you, the tech, hopefully the employer, can go and hire them as soon as possible because there are some really cool people that I'd love to see in the tech industry in the coming years.
Amen. And I will take full credit for the name, but Daniel, this show was your idea. Daniel came up with this idea after. Well, gosh, let's take a little rewind for a second. Let's go through the Marvel origin story of how we met, Daniel. And well, we're gonna take a trip down memory lane. This is sort of the This Is Your Life episode of AdoptaDev. Really awesome branding and marketing coming very soon. This is just our test stream. This is the pilot. This is our pilot, right, Daniel?
This is the pilot.
And we're just sitting here. We're cozy. I've got my dinosaur blanket. I wore this shirt especially for the show. It says "My authentic self." Even my authentic self has imposter syndrome, because that's kind of a theme, Daniel, that you and I have covered a bunch of times. But really, the inspiration for this show came from, so Daniel works in developer relations, as do I. Daniel has a very different background than I do. We'll go into that in a second. But we keep meeting these really awesome people in tech that we're just like, oh my God, why aren't people hiring these people? They're amazing. They're like usually non-traditional background folks, people who come from all walks of life who are up for sale, so to speak. And so Daniel came up with this great idea of almost like, well, that's how the name came in, AdoptaDev, because we want to showcase the awesome talent out there that people may not be seeing. And of course,
adopt them
and adopt them, so to speak. And adopting, don't worry, it's a little bit of paperwork, but usually just requires like giving them some benefits, a nice salary, perhaps some different perks and benefits of working at your company. But Daniel, let's talk real quick about this origin of AdoptaDev, because people are probably wondering, well, like, I don't understand. Why does this show need to exist? Now, your girl, boot camp grad right here, I mentor a bunch of folks in this industry, and the hardest part of getting your first job as a developer, be it if you come from a computer science program, a boot camp, if you're self-taught, is getting through the front door. And this show really exists to have a stage, highlight these people and the awesome, amazing work that they're doing, and just begging and pleading people to adopt them because we can't believe that they're not hired.
Exactly. Yeah, because when I scroll through Twitter or go through like people's Dribble accounts or their resumes, I'm like, wow, these people are so amazing. And there are so many recruiters that don't even give them an interview because they might not have like the 4.0 GPA from MIT or all these like amazing schools. Not that like that's bad, but I think we're at a point where we really need to make an active effort as people in the industry to help lift up those voices that are not being heard as well, to kind of get more people into the party, you know?
Can I
There's
get an
plenty of
amen up
job
in
for
here?
everyone.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, and fun story to add on to that. I'm sure I've told this on many other streams, and I've probably told this to you, Daniel, but
Mhm.
there are some really, really big barriers to entry, specifically for non-traditional background candidates, self-taught folks. One of my favorite stories to tell about this, well, a couple. I, of course, when I graduated from my boot camp in 2016, so old. Let me Ugh. But when I was applying for jobs, oh yeah, shepherd and mentor them when you can. Could not agree more there. I just remembered we had comments, so I'm looking at the comments over here. But when I was applying for jobs back in the day, there were a lot of barriers to entry. I would get filtered out by recruiting software really often. Famously, one of my favorite stories to tell, there was a company, I won't shame them, that I really, really, really wanted to work at, and I couldn't apply to their company. No spoilers. And I was like, great, I'm going to apply to this. And like maybe 5 minutes later, I was rejected from this company. And because of the recruiting software was like, needs to have a degree. I wanted to apply for NASA's internship. I couldn't because I didn't have a GPA to share because, of course, I hadn't been in college for several years at that point, and I certainly wasn't going to get my high school GPA. Another story I love to tell is I worked at a company. By the time I was working in the industry, I wanted to refer a dear friend that I knew from Hackbrite who similarly had a theater degree. And when they went to go apply, they couldn't because the drop down menu for what is your degree in only included computer science. So people could not apply. I could not apply for a job at the company I was working at. So there's all of these interesting, we always have people who come to us, Daniel, who are like, where are these? I hate the term unicorns, but like, where are these like diverse, awesome, talented background people like you? And I always say, make sure you're letting them in the front door because famously, a company that I really, really wanted to work at a year later, I was at a conference, doing my thing, giving a talk, and I go up to this booth and they're like, hey, Chloe, we'd love to have you come work here. Come work over here. And I went, hey, booth company, funny story. I did apply for your company and your recruiting software filtered me out immediately. So we're going to be here to not only showcase these folks, but also to educate the hiring managers, the recruiters, perhaps, and people who are finding themselves struggling to make their pipeline more diverse in thought, in gender, in race, in ethnicity, so many different ways. Because if you don't open the front door for these people, they're not going to be able to come in, and you're missing out on some really awesome, awesome candidates. We're going to showcase them on this show. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, I'd love to just add on to that and be like, if you just go on Twitter, which is the platform all of us techies are on, there's so many people who have their portfolios out on their bios or talk about like wanting a job and like having a really nice portfolio of all the projects they have done and have demonstrable experience in the things you're recruiting for. So you don't really have to go far to look at these candidates. It's just about giving them a chance, giving them an interview, and actually um yeah, giving opportunities to folks that perhaps your recruiting software is like, no, you gotta like give people
or
opportunities.
even your recruiters, because I used to be a recruiter, fun fact, back in the day. Not a technical recruiter, but I was working at a recruiting agency. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you, if I, with my technical knowledge at that time, was given a job description and it said they need to fit all of these things. So, this is something that we'll probably talk about on the show as well. There's a lot of studies out there that say women are a lot less likely to apply for a role if they don't hit all of the bullet points on the job description, while men are. And I think we're also here to educate folks on like, hey, your hiring practices may be excluding folks that you didn't even know that you're excluding. So we're here to educate kindly, tell you stop doing that, but it's okay. It's a common mistake. And also highlight and showcase some awesome people. Next week, we're going to have Magal Lorena, aka Rosie McLean, the clown, aka the coolest person in the world. She's going to be our very first guest next week. For those of you who don't know, she is, well, I know Lorena from doing Jerry Springer the Opera circa 2011, 2012, I want to say. Oh, no. Maybe, yes, around that time. And we were on stage. We played very rowdy audience members in Jerry Springer the Opera. She went off and got her dream job. She was a clown doing clown circus work in the Bay Area. Got hired by Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, like the Broadway of clownery. Worked as a clown. Lived on a train for many, many years. Was the, I think we'll have her talk about it on the show, but she was like head clown for a while, or like boss clown or something. Oh my gosh, such a fascinating, interesting story. I cannot believe that Lorena has not been hired by a company yet. Truthfully, she's been job searching for about 3 months now. So she's going to make a guest star on this show and we're going to get her a job, right, y'all? We've got all the hiring managers. We're going to hire Lorena.
Yeah,
Great.
let's adopt Lorena.
Adopt her, please. We're probably
Please.
going to have PJ on the show. One of my mentees, high school teacher, learning self-taught. Who else? What other? Let's put a call out, a call for people, a CFP. If you know someone who's job searching, who has a non-traditional background, self-taught, maybe a boot camp, send them our way. We'll feature them on the show. We just can't wait to feature really awesome, amazing people and use our platform to amplify this out and adopt these puppies. AdoptaDev. Please, please.
Yes. Yeah, so please send us a DM at AdoptaDev and we will book them on the show so we can get them hired.
Booked and
'Cause that's what
blessed.
we're- booked
As
and
we say
blessed.
in the theater industry, hashtag booked and blessed. Yes,
yeah.
Nintendo nerds, the Ringling Rosie. Absolutely. So
Yeah,
Daniel, what are we
today I
going to do
wanted
on this show?
Yeah, so today I really wanted to talk about your experience getting into DevRel and kind of your experience getting into tech, because I feel like my experience going from a really good school in engineering to DevRel is not as non-traditional as your amazing experience getting from theater queen to Clippy Queen. You know, like that transition has been really interesting for other people to watch. So I really want to talk about kind of what do you do on a daily basis, first of all,
That's
for
a good
the viewers
question.
that don't know.
First of all, I think we have a nice contender here for a tagline. Adopt a dev. For only one pull request, you can adopt a dev. We love this.
We stand. We stand.
I think we may we will credit you, but we love this. We're going to keep this. Yeah. Well, first of all, Daniel, I think that your path to tech is way more interesting than mine. I'm always really, really jealous of people who had the foresight to decide to get into tech a lot earlier and were able to do this earlier. I, of course, work on the academic team here at Microsoft as a cloud advocate, where I work with students, and all of these students are way smarter than I am, have been coding longer than I have, literally, because I only started doing this when I was 26, 27. I'm 31 now. But yes, to answer your question, what do I do? That really depends on the day. I work as a cloud advocate, of course, at Microsoft. If you're unfamiliar with what an advocate is, it also goes by a couple different names: developer evangelist, developer advocate, developer relations, has lots of different names, but essentially how I like to describe my job is I'm a bit of a liaison between marketing and engineering in a way. So my role is a very public facing role. I do a lot of live streams, hosting, I make a lot of blog posts, I do a lot of different variety of things that have to do with talking about Azure, especially for students. A day in the life, that is so hard to answer, which I'm sure you, now that you work in DevRel, it's a little difficult. It changes every day, but any given day is different. So yesterday was actually a holiday, but I spent about an hour and a half working with our amazing Microsoft student ambassadors giving resume feedback. We did a fun little volunteer day for MLK Day. That was really wonderful because I got to talk with student ambassadors from, I think, Nigeria, like, oh my gosh, like Europe, all over the place, and
Mhm.
talk about like, hey, get ready for whiteboarding, get ready for all of those fun things. But yeah, my days are all different. Wednesdays, I have a show with my coworker Brandon Minnick called 8 Bits, where we talk
Mhm.
to really interesting people in tech, ranging from everything from Microsoft history things to we had a drag queen, jQuery, on our show last week. Definitely
Best
check
name
out that
ever.
video. Best name ever. But yeah, sometimes I'll be giving talks. Before the pandemic, of course, I was traveling a lot, giving keynotes, giving talks, teaching people about Azure. But being forced to stay home has kind of changed my job a little bit. And now I'm doing a bunch of streaming, a bunch of video content. We just finished the Seasons of Serverless series where I was recording and editing videos with our MSAs, Microsoft Student Ambassadors from all over the world. So it really depends. Sometimes I'll be making a viral clippy video. Sometimes I will be writing a blog post with the students of BitCamp. Yesterday, I did a live stream with BitCamp, which is, I'm pointing the wrong way, Daniel's awesome, uh, what do you call it, Daniel? It's a program, right?
Yeah, so it's a program where we teach a bunch of students, give them the practical skills and experience they need to become an engineer in tech. So we have them build really cool projects, using awesome technologies like Azure Functions, not to do a shameless plug, but Azure Functions. So yeah, we have these amazing students from all over the US who are building really cool projects with these really cool technologies by looping awesome people like Chloe to kind of help guide and mentor the next generation of folks.
And it's super fun. Most of these students, it's their first time working with serverless or Azure, so they make really awesome. Oh my gosh! Like next week on Monday, we're going to be doing a beard detection. We're using the Microsoft Face API to do that. So yeah. To answer your question, my job really it depends on the day, and that's what I really love about my job. I think when I was making the transition into to do a little bit of a rewind, and we'll get into our backgrounds in a second here. But I attended Hackbrite, which is a 12-week software engineering boot camp for women here in San Francisco, many years ago, back in 2016. And I think when I attended that program, I thought that the only job and path for me out there was working as like a junior dev, which was I had my sight set on doing that. But just by chance, my boyfriend works in the industry, I asked him, that part of your job where you give talks, is that a job? I kind of put together like, I have this background in theater. Like I really enjoy public
Mhm.
speaking. I'm noticing a lot of these developers really don't like to do that. Is there a way for me to contribute in some way? I decided to, I applied for a bunch of junior dev jobs. I got pretty far in a bunch of them. But I realized that I really enjoyed teaching other people how to do things and presenting that information, and that was a pretty valued skill in this industry to be able to comfortably talk about and educate people about technology. And additionally,
Mhm.
I ended up pursuing a job in tech because I, by chance, attended a talk at a previous company I worked at, Nuco, and I happened to be there, complete happenstance, and they were talking about getting young women, specifically like elementary school, middle school, high school, interested in technology by adding more characters to Nickelodeon, Disney Channel shows, pop culture, Disney. And I realized like, yeah, I didn't have any of this. I didn't know that coding was something that I could pursue. So I went to my boyfriend and I said, my ship has sailed. I wish I Googled girls who code. It was for little girls. I, looked up all these things. And he said, you can still learn, right? And it really took someone saying to me, like, it's not too late. You can learn how to code. So personally, I've made it my personal mission to be a very visible woman in STEM. As you can see, I love the pink. I love purple. I'm oh my gosh, I don't have my nails painted, but it's very much in my brand and aesthetic, if you didn't pick up on that. And I think it's really important to have visibility in this industry of, I identify as like a femme in STEM. I very much lean into that aesthetic. That, of course, comes with a lot of pitfalls of people assuming that I am not an engineer more often than I would like. But I'm hoping to change that by being a more visible woman in tech. And I hope that ideally, Daniel, some little person, boy, girl, whatever it may be, will see the stuff that I'm doing and say, hey, I can do that because I identify with this person. Because I didn't have that when I was younger. I think the only person I really had was Gadget from Chippendale Rescue Rangers, who I have a toy of on my desk to remind me, why I do this, why I deal with all the trolls, why I, put myself out there because we need and that's a mouse too. That's a problem. I think she's a chipmunk or a mouse. So if that's the only person that I can think back to in my time when I was younger that I could see myself in tech, that's a problem. So yeah, I do a lot of quirky, weird, fun projects. Shania bot, fake boyfriend apps, Mario Kart astrology, and I don't do that to be funny. I mean, I like to be funny. Oh my god, it's so windy here, you guys, that my patio furniture is flipping over right now.
It's like a dust
Coming
bowl
at
up
you
in here.
live. Okay, I may have to go close that in a second. For people who don't know, it is so windy in Oakland right now. Okay, Daniel, vamp while I close this patio furniture thing before it flies to Oz.
That sounds fun.
BRB.
Yeah, so I can just add on to what was Chloe was saying. So I work with a lot of students from all over the US, and things that I hear, especially for students who are freshmen, sophomore, who may not fit the ideal mold of what the tech industry kind of defines as like a poster child for a developer. They're like, I don't know if I could be a good developer, or I don't think I'm smart enough, or I don't think I have the technical skills. And I'm like, there's a place in tech, I think, for everyone because there's unique things that each person brings to the table that's not just developing. Like, for example, not a lot of people have the public speaking skills of Chloe, or not a lot of people have like my skills of like communication that I have. So I think it's all about emphasizing what you're best at and seeing how your niche in like finding your niche in tech instead of trying to be the best developer. Because I've seen a lot of folks, especially my friends, burn out because they want to be the dev that ships the most code or that like tries to be something they're not trying to be the best version of themselves, but trying to be like the best kind of thing that they think is going to make them the most successful. And I've seen people burn out very quickly because of that. So I think if I had to give some advice, it'd be try to figure out what makes you the best version of yourself and try to use that to find your next job, if that makes any sense.
Yes, and I'm going to share a blog post that I wrote about that in a second. But I also have to share, Daniel, and everyone at home, I am feeling so validated right now because my boyfriend was like, "You don't need to put a lock on the thing that stores our patio furniture. Like, the wind is never going to blow hard enough that it'll open, and no one's going to steal our patio furniture." Guess what? The wind just blew open this all of our patio furniture. It's like Wizard of Oz here. If you are not in California or in the Bay Area right now, the wind is wild. As
It's
Nintendo
wild.
Nerd says, the windiest right now here in the Bay. I'm just feeling so validated. I was right. We did need to put a lock on this because our patio furniture pillows just almost flew to Emerald City,
Pause.
truthfully. It is the most windy right now. So thank you. The wind stole my patio furniture. Yes, I have an article that I wrote that actually it was inspired from something that happened to me while I was attending Hackbrite. Let me share my Chrome tab here. If you're familiar, if you're a musical queen like me, you may recognize this image. But when I was attending Hackbrite, a huge, huge light bulb moment for me was when we went to go present our final presentation. So if you're not familiar with a boot camp, typically, you learn about different programming languages and then you create a final project at the end. And the big culmination at the end is we had demo day and you would share your project with, prospective recruiters and your friends, family came to visit. And I noticed, looking around, everyone was really nervous to do it. And I was like, wait, this is the best, easiest part of the boot camp. Building the app was hard. Talking about it is pfft. And that was oh, right. Here I thought I was super, super behind everyone else. Oh my gosh, Daniel, when I started at my boot camp, this is embarrassing, but I like to be open and honest with everyone. Uh, in
The
my boot
safe space.
camp, I think I was the only, so we had about 20 women in our cohort, all doing amazing things now, working at places like Trello, Braintree, oh my gosh, all over the place. But I had to Google what STEM meant on the first day. I didn't know what the acronym STEM meant. People were like, oh yeah, I work in a STEM field. I'm like, what the heck? Or like fintech. I'm like Googling like on my phone, like, yes, fintech. Like,
Fintech.
I know
Yeah.
what that is. But I was probably the least experienced in my cohort. I didn't have, most people came from at least a science background or a technical background or had worked in
Mhm.
QA. Had familiarity with the tech industry. I had worked as an office manager and an executive assistant, but I had never really worked in a code base before.
Mhm.
And I think I came into the program and even went through a majority of the program, hence the shirt, with a lot of imposter syndrome, specifically just being like, I don't belong here. I'm this musical theater girl who like is just like they're gonna figure it out. My boyfriend would ask me every day, how is Hackbrite? I'd say, they haven't kicked me out yet. Like truthfully, my imposter syndrome was out of control. But once I discovered like, oh, I have this huge, here I was thinking my theater degree and my previous experience as a performer was a huge waste of my time. Why did I do that? And it has become the most valuable part of like me being in this industry is being able to express myself, improv, which Daniel, you just did a stream on recently. There's so many ways that my theater degree and my background in performance, like, oh my gosh, when a tech demo goes wrong, being able to like improvise. So this is an article I wrote called Finding Your Gimmick. It's based on a song from Gypsy. You gotta get a gimmick. But it really is about like find what makes you special. And it's of course based off a song about a bunch of strippers, but that's the plot of Gypsy. You can great musical. You can go watch that on your own time. But the thing that I thought was going to be my biggest disadvantage in this industry, I ended up just completely leaning into, and truthfully, it's been like really the what I thought would be sort of my huge disadvantage has become my superpower. So whatever it's sometimes it's really hard to find what that is for you. Sometimes it takes like talking
Mhm.
to another person to be like, what's cool about me? It's hard to talk about ourselves. I was talking to our MSAs the other day, our Microsoft Student Ambassadors, about like writing your bio for LinkedIn. And it's hard because you have to write in like third person and you're like, I don't know what makes me special. So
Mm.
pairing with someone, having them point out like what is it like maybe you don't even know that like Daniel, you love Bling Empire. And I think you should be bringing that into more of your
I love Bling Empire. It is my favorite show on earth right now. I watched it straight, like without a break, the whole 6 episodes. I'm so obsessed with that show. But anyways, yeah. Not
and
to talk. It's not a Bling Empire review show. If you would
yeah.
like to see that,
If you would like a 90 Day Fiance / Bling Empire recap podcast from us, sound off in the comments. We'll consider it. But yeah, I think it really comes down to like what makes you special and what do you, there's just like you said, Daniel, like so many people feel like they have to fit a certain mold or wear a hoodie or like, blend into tech in a certain way. And we're here to say, please be as quirky and weird. Please, quirkier the better. We love.
that's true. I think quirkier the better. Yeah, I think another question I had for you was, I think like a lot of people from non-traditional backgrounds have been super successful in tech. Like case in point, like you know this lady over here, she's super successful. But I've seen a lot of people have struggled to get their first kind of job. And once they get that first job, it's like amazing for them. So what was the process of you getting your first job as a developer evangelist right after Hackbrite?
Wait, sorry. My boyfriend was grinding coffee and I got really distracted because Franzak commented, which is this the Zach that used to do theater in the Bay Area? I recognize this name. I'm glad I ended up here today. I decided to get into coding last year. Because, oh my gosh, because of senior accomplishments. I feel like I'll never get it and I'm pushing myself. Keep it up. Loves the story. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Zach, I remember watching videos of you in the Who's Tommy when I was like auditioning for Ray of Light stuff back in the day. Small world. Welcome. Ah, so exciting. I should also add, I've had a bunch of my theater friends start learning how to code this year. Lorena being one of them. But yeah, there's so many. I will connect with you after this, Zach, and send you a bunch of stuff. That's so exciting. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, sorry. What was the question?
Oh yeah, I'll ask it again. What was the process of you getting your first job at Hackbrite?
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
sorry, not Hackbrite. Sorry, at
Yeah.
CodeFresh. Your first job.
Oh, it was so painful. Yeah, I love to tell this story because I think, there's this image that I'll share called the iceberg of success that we literally had up on in the bathroom stall at Hackbrite. So I would see it literally every day when I would use the restroom. Let me get it up on the screen here. It'll be worth it. It's a great visual. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my tab. Here it is. Okay, iceberg of success. So I would see this every day and be like, cool, I'm that sad heart at the bottom. Because truly, I think that, and it's so great that we have Zach joining here today, who probably from the outside saw my journey of like, wow, Chloe learned how to code and everything's amazing now. No, oh my God, there was such a journey to get here. I So typically the kind of average that I was told for my boot camp on how long it took to get a job was about 3 to 6 months, depending on how hard you hit the pavement per pound the pavement per se. But it took me 3 months to get a job. I graduated in December of 2016. I was given advice from, I was working at Pax Labs, the vape company, right before I dropped that job to attend Hackbrite. And this lovely human being named Nemo Baker, shout out to Nemo, took some time to get coffee with me. He had just started as a developer at PAX when I was leaving. So we are kind of ships in the night. And I took him out to coffee and I said, how do I apply for jobs? Like, how do I get my first job? And he was like, rapid fire out those applications, cast a wide net. The more you send out, you're going to get a lot of rejections, but like you'll get more responses that way. So I did just that. I probably applied for, oh my God, I didn't count, but many people in my cohort and the coinciding cohort had like spreadsheets where they're like, I applied to like 300 something jobs. I probably applied to a couple hundred jobs, everything from startups, Fitbit,
You name dropped them.
Fitbit definitely rejected me within a couple seconds. I got pretty far in the Google engineering residency program process. I interviewed at a couple places that came to our demo night for Hackbrite, but I really had to learn how to interview. And I was just talking to our Microsoft student ambassadors about this the other night, that like part of interviewing for dev roles is a little bit different, but I think for junior dev roles specifically, so much of like getting that first job is learning how to interview. And if you're not familiar with the interview process is for developers, oh my goodness, like every other job I've ever had, it's like, hi, I'm a nice person, please hire me. For engineering, it's quite different. It's usually about, you do a phone screen or 2 or 3. You then have an on-site. These are now, of course, done remotely, but it's about a 5 or 6 hour long process where you're doing whiteboarding, architectural design questions, cultural fit questions, all sorts of things. But it's an exhausting all day thing. Like it's truly like you have to learn how to interview as a dev before you even get a dev role. So I did that for the first month or so, just like rejection after rejection. Luckily was an actress, so was very used to rejection from auditioning. And I started to find more success once I started, like I said, learning or leaning more into roles that kind of used these skills that I had. So once I kind of rebranded myself as a DevRel, applying for those kind of roles, once I figured out that's what I want to be doing, my way that I kind of sold myself was like, look, I'm a junior dev. Most people you're going to be interviewing for this role are going to have the tech experience up to here and not so much the public speaking experience, but I have the opposite. You can train me in your product, but like I'm coming in hot with public speaking stuff and everything. So it was a lot of rejections. It was a lot of, oh my gosh, Google engineering interview, coding in a Google Doc. Oh my goodness, super scary. I did a lot of interviewing.io practice interviews. I did a lot of leet code problems. Best advice I can give is to do one leet code problem every day for a month, and you'll have seen every leet code problem or possible whiteboarding question that exists. But a lot of it, and I tell this to everyone, is like learning how to interview. And 3 months into that grueling process, I should also say I cried in a Whole Foods. I put all my eggs in one basket and I was like, I'm gonna get this LinkedIn apprenticeship job because I was like, this is gonna be it. There's no whiteboarding. It's all essay questions. This is me. Like they're gonna read my essay questions. They're gonna give me this job, and I kept following up, being like, refreshing my email. And in the middle of a Whole Foods, I got the rejection and just like broke down. Like, oh my god, this is never gonna happen. So the highs were high and the lows were very low, but I ended up having CodeFresh take a chance on me, and they really loved the project that I had built for Hackbrite, and they saw potential in me, and I'm forever, ever, ever thankful to Raziel, Iran, Dan for taking a chance on this very quirky lady. But yeah, it was a lot of rejection, and I think like there's a reason why not everybody learns how to code and goes like, you don't just wake up one day and decide like, I'm going to go to a boot camp. Like it's a really, really big decision. You quit your job, you put all your time and energy into doing this, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. So my best advice for anybody doing this right now is like, keep at it. Like it's rejection is really tough, but you can do it. It was a grueling process, but it's possible.
Yeah, so how do you network? Because I feel like that's a question I get a lot since I have a job already. A lot of students ask me, so how do you connect with people that can give you referrals or make genuine connections with people in the industry? So, like, what would you recommend to those people?
Yeah, I hate the word networking. I call it friend making, which is kind of corny, but it's true. Like, I don't view my relationships. So I work with a lot of people doing DevRel stuff. And to me, it's like not a business relationship. It's like, it's a professional relationship, but it's also like people that I can call on to like do content with, or ask them their opinion on a piece of content that I'm doing. So I really don't think about networking. I think I just honestly, Daniel, I just reach out to really cool, interesting people that I see, especially on Twitter and Instagram sometimes. I just want, like, people talk about building their network, and I think, the visual of LinkedIn always comes to mind when we think about like I'd like to connect with you in my professional network on LinkedIn. But yeah, I think like so much of it is just finding other cool people doing cool things and doing cool things together, which is friendship. I mean, if Brendan North is still in the chat, like truthfully, Brendan and I used to do theater together. Now we do like crafting fun Nintendo things together, and it's like that is just a relationship that we have. And I think my role as a DevRel is a lot like a casting director. And again, I should mention like developer relations is different for everyone. Like the way that a bunch of my teammates at Microsoft do DevRel is totally different than how I do it. Oh, still here. Crafternoon incoming soon. Amazing. Brendan is in the chat here. But truly, like the connections that you make with people in this industry, like I really just want to make cool things with other cool people. So I think there's a tweet I saw once that was like, breed your friend or introduce your friends to your other friends to breed more like to I'm totally butchering this tweet, but it was like breed your friends together to make more interesting friends. And I'm always about bringing people together and making cool things. Yes, cool things like Shania bot. Hello PJ in the chat. But I just like to make cool things and find cool people who want to make cool things. So I don't even think of it as networking. I think of it as like I'm a casting director and it's my job to help cast these people in different ways in my own content. And then it's always reciprocated. Like, PJ will have me on his stream, or like, there's so many ways that this industry, it's very different from theater because theater is very competitive. Typically, we've got some Shania bot fans in the chat. Amazing. But yeah, networking is like, It's way more fun if you just think of it like friendship, because I really, having come from the entertainment industry, professional relationships were very transactional. Like, hey,
Yeah.
come in. I mean, not casting couch stuff. That's a little bit different. But like, you got to be in the ensemble a while before you get a, part or something. But for me, I really view it as like using my platform and other people's platforms to amplify other awesome, cool people doing cool things. So, yeah, the bigger my platform becomes, the more space on the platform, like I'm picturing the platform as a stage, very metaphorical, right? to showcase and highlight other people's work. And I think the sign of a really great DevRel is, if you just post things on your blog or on your Twitter, like it's only going to your audience. When you work with other people, it goes out to so many other more people. So spreading the love. Networking
Yeah.
is friend making.
So it says, we got a question that says, "What if your platform is small? I really want to make cool things as well." So I can actually talk a little bit more about this because I don't have 45,000 followers like Chloe does on Twitter.
Be careful
Where
what you wish for, Daniel. You should look at my
she,
DMs.
she has a hashtag army, the Chloe Army, that is really awesome. She has a fan club. I think she should have like one of those K-pop, like those like fan thingies, like the bongs or something,
I
like a
do
little like
want
light stick.
I was on Hot Topic was having a 20% off sale, and I have decided that my life goal, I just want to get a Funko Pop made of me or make my own Funko Pop of myself. That's what I've decided. Because I kind of
Yeah.
already look like a Funko Pop.
Yeah. So what I would suggest is instead of trying to make content that goes viral the first day, I think consistency is really important because you
Yes.
all have to start somewhere. So like I would suggest start making stuff now, like even if you don't have a giant platform. And what you can do is you can be like, you can DM awesome people on Twitter or make friends on Twitter, Discord, places like that. There's a lot of communities out there of learners, and then eventually you can grow your platform if you're consistent and you make good content, because I think there's still a lack of good beginner content out there. Even there can never be enough beginner content.
Absolutely. I love this comment from Brendan that says, act like you have a large following no matter the size of your audience. Consistency in branding and knowing who you are is how people will find that you are right from them. I couldn't agree more. To be perfectly honest, I like barely had any Twitch followers like a couple weeks ago. It's mostly just people coming over from Twitter. And you kind of have to like fake it till you make it. Put up, like just like Daniel said, consistency is really key. If you have a consistent stream of content, if you build it, they will come. Truthfully, like I'm always shocked by the videos I find online. Like last night, I was watching these cute frog compilation videos, and I clicked on the user's profile, and I was like, "How does this person have 200,000 followers?" But there's a niche for everything, right? You know,
Yeah.
Broadway bootlegs. I mean, don't make Broadway bootlegs. That's illegal. But whatever it may be, I think if you're making content that speaks to people and if you build it, they will come. Truthfully. Let's see. Oh, I
That
like
sounds good.
this. If you build it, they will come. So be sure to have rules and terms of service ready before they show up. Amen.
And a code of conduct.
Amen. And a code of conduct. And PJ said, my mom is the only one who watches on some days. Yeah, I feel this deeply. I think my dad sometimes is the only person who watches. We have a comment here that says, I think I'm nervous and that's what's stopping me. I get nervous all the time too. It's very vulnerable to make content and to put yourself out there. And there's a lot of projects that I've like put pause on or not acted on officially making them. But as my dad's clowning professor told him, he's a very Italian man who taught Commedia dell'arte. Don't think about it. Just do it. Just do it. And I think that is something I'm a perfectionist. And I think when I like, for example, with this show, we just like went live today. We don't have any of our branding marketing. Sometimes you just have to like put it out there.
Do it. Yeah. I think the other thing is whenever you put out content, I think it's a really good way to keep yourself accountable, because
Yes.
I have been, not to be too personal, but I have been very lazy some periods of my life, and I'm like, I should probably finish this project, but the bed is so comforting. I'm just gonna get sleep. I'll do it tomorrow, and
We're
that
also in
tomorrow
a
never
global
comes.
pandemic. It's hard to be motivated right now. I told myself, "Oh, I'm going to make all these different shows and video content." That was back in April or May. Now I'm finally getting around to it. So sometimes the right inspiration has to strike. So
Exactly,
we all
and
deal with it.
but like if you have a stream that you have on Thursdays, it's a good way to keep yourself accountable and get those things done
Yes.
if you have no motivation. So, to those of you who want to make content, it's a really great way to level up and yeah, get better at what you want to be good at.
Yes, amen. And it's hard to get motivated. Like I think just like Daniel said, I something I've discovered with my ADHD. We have a great question here. Motivation's key. What are your tips for self motivation? So I've discovered about myself through the powerful process of therapy and ADHD coaching that it's really I'm an obliger, so I'm usually more likely to get tasks done if I'm working with other people. Like I'm terrible to myself, right? If I tell myself I want to do this, it'll just be on the back burner forever. But if I have some sort of accountability partner, like Daniel in this case, um, accountability partners have been really, really key to my self motivation. I've noticed that the things that I get done on a consistent basis are because someone else is doing it with me, almost like a workout buddy, right? Like you have your
Mhm.
workout buddy that you go and do your berries boot camp with or whatever it may be. But yeah, and Brandon North, famously, my accountability buddy, sometimes it really just takes having someone to do the project with, and just like Daniel said, having a schedule. I think one of the reasons I haven't put my Twitch schedule up, Daniel, is then I feel like I have to commit to it. Like I'm like, oh, once I do
Yeah.
this, it's happening. But truthfully, I one of the projects I've worked on the longest this year with Brandon Minnick is our 8-bit show, and that's truly because we have a scheduled every Thursday or every Wednesday show that we do. And same with PJ in our show. I think that gets done because it's something that we have on the schedule. So accountability buddies are super helpful.
Yeah, for me, it's about blocking time out.
Oh,
So
yes.
instead of being like, I'll get this done eventually, be like, I'll get this done every Thursday from 2 to 4 after I have my waffle. That is something that is the human psyche is very weird in that if we plan on making it like part of our routine, it doesn't feel like I have to do it. It's like built in. I feel like it's baked in when you do it. You're like, I guess I have to do it. It's Thursday, you know? Like you
Yeah.
don't think about procrastinating as much. So that's my tip for self-motivation is Google Calendar. Please sponsor me.
Yes.
I'd love a mug.
And it's been especially tough for me during, all this COVID-19 stuff because I think, I used to have this schedule of, okay, I wake up, I get dressed, I brush my teeth, I go to the office, and there was sort of this, switch that goes on that's like, okay, it's work time. And now, you know, that we're stuck at home, if I don't have it baked into my schedule, it's just on this like un untouched to do pile that I won't look at. So scheduling, blocking out time to do stuff has been really key. And people like PJ will tell you like we will say like, oh, we'll work on that resume thing or we'll work on that Shania bot thing. But if we don't have it on our calendar, forget about it. It's not going to happen because we're all human. We're busy people, and like there's some quote from the Music Man I want to say that says, pile up enough tomorrows and you'll just get a pile of yesterdays. And that stings. It sticks with me a lot because I'm like, that's me. It's been on my back burner for so long to start making, sketch comedy videos and stuff like that. And now I finally bought the camera. I'm going to start doing it. So sometimes it just takes time. Sometimes you're just not ready. You got to marinate a little bit. And, you're not alone, though. It's hard to get motivated on some things, even if it's really fun, exciting things. Like it can be hard to get motivated in this climate. It's hard to get motivated, Daniel.
Yeah, there's a coup, man. There's a coup.
Yeah.
Something else that works for me specifically is uh rewarding myself. So
Yes.
I literally tell myself, "Hey, if you finish this, you can go get a bagel or you can go
Yes.
get sushi." So sometimes I have to resort to the tactics that a mom uses on their 3-year-old. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
Daniel, you cannot eat your delicious sushi until you finish this project. Then I will get that stuff done so fast
Oh
because I
my
really
god.
like sushi. So,
Yeah. And there's a concept called mirroring in the
mhm.
ADHD world that has helped me a lot. Sometimes my boyfriend, I'll just be like, sit next to me. You can play this video game. I don't care, but just don't let me get up until I submit this expense report. Or like something that a wonderful, wonderful tip that I got from my ADHD coach that my boyfriend is thrilled about is I am really, really bad, and I know you are too, Daniel, at taking time for myself, just like having self care in my routine. I'm just constantly working on things and feeling that I have to be productive. And sometimes it literally takes my boyfriend being like, okay, today you have to sit down for 2 hours and just play Animal Crossing. That's all you do. Because I think for folks like us, Daniel, it's super, super easy to get burned out. There's so many awesome things and projects and amazing things to work on that making sure that you take the time for self-care, and especially when we're all stuck at home, it's harder to determine like what's our fun time and what's our like, you know, what's our leisure
Not,
time, what's our work time. So
yeah.
sometimes you just got to sit down and watch 90 Day Fiance for 3 hours because you're human and you got to recharge. And I'm terrible at that. So sometimes if you have someone, maybe if you're sheltering in place alone, if you have a friend who can be your accountability buddy and be like, Chloe, you better be just sitting down playing Luigi's Mansion. It's a Sunday. Chill out. Sometimes that's needed. I need it all the time for sure.
Yeah, and another thing that I saw this amazing Slack message from my work Slack of my boss, and she was like, hey, like relaxing or leisure time isn't necessarily like going to a spa, or drinking. It can literally be as simple as just laying down, taking a nap, doing a
Yes.
face mask,
Oh my gosh.
baking. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
such like fancy thing. Whatever makes you relax and makes you happy. It could be as simple as just laying down. I mean, who doesn't like laying down?
Yeah. And I'm one of
So,
those weirdos who
yeah.
like I even feel bad if I take a sick day and I'm actually sick. Like it's so hard for me to not be productive. I know a bunch of folks, especially in the DevRel community, like being being like in one place, even physically, mentally, can be really, really difficult. So make sure that you are taking time for you because it is so, so easy to burn out. It's so easy to not even know that you're burning yourself out. I know for me, my weird, like, calming habit is I love to clean. Like I love to organize and clean. I used to be an office manager, so maybe that's like some weird thing from my past. But sometimes I'll just listen to a podcast for an hour and clean, and that's like kind of my way of disconnecting. So find find ways to just chill TF out. You gotta chill.
So my way of relaxing is doing this face mask that my mom got me from Korea. It's a popping face mask. It feels like pop rocks on your face.
What?
It's so relaxing.
Is it the Indian clay one? Because I
No,
love
no, no.
that one.
No, no. It's a lot more foamier. It's not
Oh,
like a. It's
oh,
not
I've
like a.
seen this. I've
Yeah, I'll
seen this
send
on
you one.
Instagram. Oh my gosh, I want to try it. I am
Yeah,
obsessed with this one. It's like the Aztec clay mask that I
that
saw a
one
friend
smells
put.
weird. So
It
I
does smell
can't.
weird because you have to add apple cider vinegar to it, but when you put it on your face, like tingles. It's very, very interesting.
I'll send you mine. Mine smells like lavender. It's very nice.
Oh, I love. Okay. We'll do
Yeah,
a
and then I
we'll do
like
a
to
face
eat
mask
sushi.
episode.
I'm so down. I'm so down. And then I like to eat sushi while doing my face mask. So that is the way I relax. It's very bougie.
What do I do? I play Animal Crossing. My island looks great. I clean. I love to craft, and I'm going to start crafting on my Twitch stream a little bit more. Because, see, that's exactly what this person just commented here. Very true regarding burnout. It's easy for something you're excited about to also be like crushing. Amen. Because I'm starting to realize this. I love to craft. I have a little crafting station. I've spent the last month or so getting all of my streaming equipment and stuff so I can start crafting on stream. And I've realized Chloe, you've made this leisure activity that was like your personal chill time, and you're now opening
Into
it up to
work.
the world, and it's work. So like, be mindful of those things. You still want to find the joy in it, and I'm finding the joy now. Like, I'm so excited to share it with other people. But yeah, it's tough. Like, but
Tough.
but I think, when that's sort of like we all want to make our passion our job, so it's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah, it's just like paradox, I think, because you want to make your passion your job because you want to have fun in your job. But once you start relying on that passion to make you money and survive, it becomes like, are you gonna still find joy in it in 20 years? It's
I just started following. I'm super late to the game. Oh my gosh, what was this girl's name? There was this famous YouTuber named Chloe something. Chloe. Oh my gosh, I can't. Chloe Couture. Here, I'll show this. So, oh my gosh, so loud. So I have been looking at a bunch of like YouTube influencer pages recently to just figure out like the best way to use YouTube for myself. And I stumbled on Chloe Couture, which I'll share. She spells it differently though, Cloe. And her pinned video here is goodbye YouTube and thank you. So she had been streaming and doing all of this like awesome content for years and years and years. I think her original video, she was one of the first like YouTube video, shout out to the Chloes of the world. Her oldest video is from 7 years ago. She became this big, 6.8 million subscriber YouTube influencer, was making a living off of this. And it was fascinating because I obviously discovered her a lot later. And the first video I saw was this goodbye YouTube and thank you. And it truly was her being like, I've been doing this for 7 years. I really, really loved it. It became too much of a job, and now I'm not doing it anymore. So it's true. Like, there's so many. You have to be these like hobbies and passions that we have are very precious, and we want to like keep them special and share them with people. But burnout is very, very real, even for Chloe Couture. Like, she's out here taking a little break from the YouTubes after traveling the world, making all this content. She has a very cute dog, though. Love this dog. Love a good Shih Tzu. But you gotta take care of you. It's like Richard Simmons. Wait, Daniel, do you know about Richard Simmons? Are you too young for this? I'll give it to
yeah,
you.
I'm too young for it.
Okay. Richard Simmons. Let me give a visual. You know who this is.
Oh,
this is
yes,
Simmons.
I do know who this is. I just Googled him.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. So there's an amazing podcast called the Missing Richard Simmons podcast. I promise this is relevant information. This is Richard Simmons for anybody who doesn't know. He was a famous aerobics instructor, very eccentric, lovely, just like amazing human being. Here he is wearing a crazy guitar leotard. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But I listened to this podcast recently called the Missing Richard Simmons podcast, and it's all about how he was this very public facing personality. He had all these cruises that he would do, and he was really, so he made a huge millions and millions of dollars off of making these VHS tapes that were, sweating with the oldies, and like it was literally him being like, gosh, it's like sugar pie, honey bun, grapevine, 3, 4. They were all aerobics workouts, and made a significant amount of money. He was very, very intimate and personal with his fans. He had a Los Angeles aerobics studio where he did classes like every week or every day, and then suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth. And I should also mention they interview a bunch of people on this podcast who are like, yeah, I met Richard Simmons at a live talk, and he kept in touch with me over the years for like 5 years. I'm just some stranger that he met at like this event that he did, and he just had such a passion for what he did, and then overnight stopped calling people, stopped doing content, stopped showing up to the aerobic studio. And honestly, in listening to this podcast, highly recommend checking it out. I think there just comes a point where you reach a limit of, like human interaction. And oh yes, Richard Simmons on Whose Line is a classic. One of the best episodes of Whose Line Is It Anyway that exists out there. I could not agree more. Bubble Goose vids. But yeah, I think, you hit a point with not even just success, but like turning your passion to something that it becomes exhausting. And that's something to be super aware of. Burnout is so real. I tell Daniel this all the time. I'm like, don't burn out, please. You're so passionate about what you do. Don't burn out. Anyway, that was a big tangent on passion and burnout. Don't burn out.
We love it. So yeah, I think it has come to the time of the show. It's my favorite time of the show. So this segment is called Lightning Round, and then basically you have to tell us a bunch of information about yourself that
Okay.
people may not otherwise know.
Okay.
Are you
I'm
ready,
ready.
Chloe?
I think I'm
Uh,
ready.
Okay. How tall are you, Chloe?
I am 5'2", just like Dainty June from Gypsy. Never got cast as that
Yeah.
role though, sadly.
She is exactly how she seems on camera. I met her in person, exactly the same. What's your favorite childhood TV show?
Oh, Pee-wee's Playhouse, hands down. I still watch it. I actually just set up all of the Super 7, I'll tweet a picture of it later, all the action figures on top of my maker cabinet. I love like anything puppet, Muppet related, but Pee-wee's
Mhm.
Playhouse was my Sesame Street, so love Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Love that. What is your favorite Twitter account right now that you're following?
Oh my goodness. Ooh, that's such a good question. Well, Shania Bot.
Shania Bot. You gotta have that
Uh,
plug in there.
ooh, let me think. Are we talking like technical Twitter or just like Twitter in
Anything
general?
in general.
Okay, I started following a couple parody accounts recently. It started from this one called Disneyland to go, but then I started following this one. Let me find the actual name of it. It's a Jurassic Park one. It's like a fake Jurassic Park account. So I love anything comedy related. This one is called yes, Messing Around. You didn't even spell it right,
Yeah.
sir.
You spelled it wrong.
So this account, I recently started following this one. It's Jurassic Park updates, and it's run by I think these are all comedians maybe, but it's like one of the dinosaurs just laid an egg, I think. Is that right? Like it's all just really funny out of context, like breaking Donald Trump has been banned from Jurassic Park. Like they're just fake Jurassic Park tweets. I love that account. I also love oh gosh, there's so many. There's like a lot of meme accounts, or not meme accounts, but like accounts. There's like a Furby account that I just started following, that's like all in a completely different language that just posts images of Furby. Oh no, I lied. There's a mascot account that I think is my favorite, Mondo Mascots. This account tweets mascots like almost every hour it seems, and I miss Japan so much, and I love that in Japan, literally everything has a mascot, and they all have masks right now, which I freaking love. But the descriptions are so great. Like Mamusa, a rabbit with a sentient green bean stuck to its face, is the mascot of Japan's Shanghai Airport. And so I'll retweet these all the time and be like, "Oh my gosh, me too!" Like Daikanama, a friendly radish, is an unofficial mascot for Oda Ward in Tokyo. But it makes me so happy and slash sad that like Japan is doing such a great job of educating like children and people by adding like like literally having mascots for mask related issues, and we don't have it here in the US. Ooh, this is a great one. Zombear. The zombie bear from Otoro, Japan, swings his intestines around.
That looks like
Um,
sausages. It looks pretty yummy.
so to
I think it's
answer your
lunchtime.
question, I I love these comedic Twitter accounts like Disneyland to go. This one tweets really stuff things like we've still been making churros every day for some reason, and we are auctioning off Goofy. They have a podcast as well. Um, oh my gosh, there's someone here that are really funny. Like we just released the Indiana Jones boulder. This one, letting the Indiana Jones boulder loose. And I think the reason I like these comedy accounts so much is because Twitter can be a lot. It can be really heavy sometimes, and my comments and DMs can certainly put me in a mood. So anything that sparks joy or laughter, I'm like all about.
Yeah. We gotta Marie Kondo our lives. That's
Yes.
what we have to do. Um, what is your favorite LaCroix flavor?
Okay, so full disclosure, I haven't had a LaCroix in a long time because I bought a Soda Stream and I've been making my own LaCroix kind of, but my favorite flavor is limoncello, and I also really like controversial coconut pairs really well with cold brew. But I know that like it's a polarizing flavor for some people, but limoncello and
Yeah,
coconut
that
are my
that is
fave.
really polarizing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the coconut, but yeah, that's cool. What is the weirdest thing you've learned about the tech industry in your tenure here?
Ooh, honestly, the whole concept of leveling is really weird to me. I now work at Microsoft. I worked in startups the majority of my life, be it in tech or non-coding roles. And
Hmm.
leveling is wild to me. And if people aren't familiar with that, at different software engineering companies like Google, all these FANG companies, Microsoft. What am I missing? Uber, all these places. There's different like numbers and levels for like, oh, I'm a senior, which means like a
Oh,
45
four.
or like a 63 or an L2. And that is crazy to me because none of it like there's like different resources online and stuff that say like staff at this company is equal to like senior at this company, and there's all these different like charts and stuff, but it's like so wild to me that this is a huge part of hiring practice and processes. Like let's say you work at Uber and you're interviewing somewhere else, you have to talk about like, well, I'm this level here, but it's actually translates to this. It's sort of like this number system that doesn't it's not
Make any
consistent.
sense?
It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. And that has probably been the strangest thing for me, not only leveling, but how much value people assign to leveling, which is totally understandable. Like it affects how much you're paid and, like where you are in the hierarchy of whatever. But like that has been a very interesting thing for me is like so wait a second, you work as a senior at this company, but if you were to go to Google, you'd be staff. But like, how do you express that? And like, what is the conversion and who decided this? And like, what do these numbers mean? And why is it a 62 instead of like, there's so many questions I have about these numbers, but that's probably the strangest thing. That and coming from theater where we were so lucky, and I'm sure if Zach and Brendan are still in the chat, we were so lucky to get a slice of pizza at a tech rehearsal, and now having to like throw away hundreds of tote bags and t-shirts from the conferences that I've attended over the years. There's such a huge like disparity between like obviously the budget of the arts industry and tech. So probably the most jarring thing that isn't necessarily something I've learned but experienced is like the amount of free t-shirts and tote bags and stress balls and things that are given out in this industry, that I'm now finding as I Marie Kondo my life. I there's too much branded swag.
I think what we need to do is start making like quilts or something. So repurpose the t-shirts.
Yeah, but do you really want a quilt that says Datadog on it? So I mean, some of these shirts are cool, but like there's some of these things that like I'm actually kicking myself because I wish that I had just been getting my dad's size shirts and giving them to my dad when I was going to conferences, because
Oh
a lot of
shit.
times, like for anybody out there who's never attended a tech conference before, of course probably nobody has in the last year because of COVID-19, but I would go to these tech events and the shirts would never fit me because I'm a woman, small, extra small, and it's very rare that these companies will carry women's flattering sizes, let alone anything above, XL. And yeah, like that was like, if you want to add another layer to like feeling kind of, not ostracized necessarily, but just like not fitting into tech, like going to these events and being like, what do I do with this giant shirt with this logo on it? So I'm always super thankful when companies have women's sizes, because I'm like, oh, I'll actually wear this. Like it's cute, I'll wear it. But yeah, free swag has been odd because I'm like, wait, this is free? I could just take this LaCroix, or like I could just take this shirt.
Wait, you know what would be really cool? We should have we should partner with a nonprofit that provides like clothing to
Mm,
like underserved communities, and just be like have a box at every conference to be like, if you're not gonna wear that shirt or if you're
yeah.
gonna throw that away, put it in the bin so we can donate it. Like I
It's
feel like it'd
always
be popular.
I mean, you used to live in the Mission, Daniel, and I used to live in the Mission as well. It was always such a like sad, strange, jarring experience, especially in the Mission, because people would donate their clothes to like Goodwill or to, you know, gosh, I'm totally community thrift and things like that. And you
Yeah,
would see often homeless people wearing tech t-shirts and tech bags and stuff, which is like,
it's
it's jarring.
jarring.
to see, like, you're like, oh my god, the class disparity in the Bay Area is so wild that like you attend a tech event where like OK Go is performing or like Macklemore, and you come outside and like, of course this is all of the clothing is getting, so you walk down the street, you see someone with like a Google intern 2012 glasses. So in a way, I'm like, this is great. I'm so glad that these clothes are going out to these people who really need it. But it's also just kind of a slap in the face of like, we have so much budget. Like, we should be putting this budget towards literally helping
Anything else?
underserved people, not making these Facebook internship. If you're looking for vintage tech apparel, check out the Mission District Goodwill.
That is so true. It's sad.
It's
It's
so
really sad.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think honestly that has been probably the weirdest thing that I've like experienced or learned in this industry, is coming from an industry where we were just, yeah, so like, I remember I did a show in Marin once where they fed us like a multi-course dinner, and I felt like Annie. I was like, oh, we get to eat this food and it's free. Like, it was just so rare that we were, in the
Yeah,
arts, that were given these
definitely.
things. So I'm all for like team donate the swag budget to like underserved communities, because nobody needs a shirt that says like server less, server more. Like, no, like, give it to give it to people who need it. We don't
Sorry,
need these shirts.
that was the worst thing I've ever heard.
I mean, that's not a quote
Oh
of a
my
real one,
god.
but I am getting a targeted ad on Twitter a lot this week that's like a serverless punch shirt, and I'm just like, do we need this? Like, could we be putting like, I'm all for like swag that's like succulents or something, like something that I can use, but even then I don't need that. I'm like, please let's give this back to the community. Let's like donate it to literally anything else. But I used to audition, and Brendan North can speak to this. I auditioned for a show one time because the jackets were so cool that they gave the actors. Like, and it didn't even have our name on it or anything. It just had like the company's name on it. And I did the show to get the jacket. And I think back on that and I'm like, I was so naive. I didn't know how many weird, free, oversized jackets I would be getting in tech. But that's been strange. Just like the amount
Yeah.
of money that is thrown at these like marketing budgets, especially back in the days of in-person events, was just like, what the? Which is why, Daniel, whenever I do an event and I'm given a swag budget, which has been a while since that's been the case, I always try to make it practical things like hand sanitizer or like pins that were actually cute and people would want to wear, or like patches or stickers that were, useful. Like, the less trash we have out there, better.
So if I ever put on a meetup, which is slated to be never because it seems like COVID-19 will take over the entire universe. But if that happens, I want to do like branded fruit because I saw it on Twitter.
Oh, Danielle Baskin. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. She
I stand
runs
her.
that out of San Francisco. She also did a really great post recently. If not following DJ Baskin on Twitter, favorite person on. Actually, that's
Oh,
my
she's
favorite
so
Twitter
cool.
account. I changed my answer. Danielle Baskin is my favorite Twitter account. Let me share her amazing, amazing. Just as Danielle said, she makes branded fruit. She's got all these awesome projects. This is my favorite Twitter account. I take it all back. This is Danielle. Um, they do so many amazing, hilarious projects. Like, this is the newest one. Uh, this is branded Band-Aids for the corona vaccine from Chile's Comcast and John Deere. I learned, she's also famously made these face masks that look like the bottom of your mask. Very, very funny. Have been seen on, I think, Daily Show and a couple different things. But
That's amazing.
everything, she did this post about stress balls that she had received recently, or in the last, this is the first year that she hasn't gotten one. And I was like, yes, I've gotten so many stress balls from, being at these events and stuff. But definitely check out Danielle Baskin. She has a branded fruit company as well. I agree. I think we should be making practical swag, Daniel.
I
Um,
agree.
and gosh, I'm like, what would be something during the pandemic? Like hand sanitizer. I was ahead of my time with hand sanitizer as a swag item. Masks,
Oh yeah, that's
practical.
cute. I feel like I would actually use a mask even if it was ugly
Yeah.
because
Hats are very gender inclusive and usually one size fits all, unless you have a really big head, I guess. Gosh,
I'm
what
just
are
trying
some,
to look around.
yeah, I mean, Oh, my favorite, like, I guess this wasn't swag, but more of a speaker gift that I got was I spoke at a Women in Tech event where there, as a gift to us, they gave us the Women in NASA Lego set, where it was like these three little like Women of
Oh
NASA
my
thing.
god,
So I
I
love a
love it.
thoughtful, I'm all for giving thoughtful gifts. I think that's good, but the less trash we have in the world, the better.
That's awesome. Well, who? What else is there? Oh, I had one more question.
Yes, yes.
Very, very. Um, I want to end this in a very serious note, and
Okay.
I want to ask about like what has been like the most hardest thing you've dealt with so far as being both a woman in tech, but also like being in the tech industry in general from like a
Hmm.
non-traditional background.
The hardest thing. You know, the shirt really says it all. It used to drive me crazy, especially when I was in Hackbrite, my boot camp, and I would say, people would be like, "How's Hackbrite going?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's good. Have some imposter syndrome." They're like, "That never goes away," and I'd be like, but in my head, I'd be like, "That's easy for you to say. You work at Airbnb." Like it's very. I think especially when you're first starting out in this industry, like imposter syndrome is wild. And it never goes away. Truthfully, people tell me all the time, like, "Oh, you inspired me to get into tech," and I'm like, "Me? I'm literally three Muppets in a trench coat." Like, I've told this story many, many times, but on the final day of Hackbrite, I was driving there, or we were in an Uber there. This is in the before
Mhm.
times, and my boyfriend turned to me and was like, "Hey, so I guess they're not going to kick you out of Hackbrite." And I literally was like, "There's still an hour." Like, I was convinced that these Hackbrite people were going to figure out that I was a complete imposter. I didn't deserve to be there. I was speaking at this graduation. Like, there's no reason for me to be thinking that, right? And every time I, mistype my password or something, I assume that, like, oh, this is it. I've been fired. They finally figured out I don't know what I'm doing. And I think it's important to share that because I know a lot of people follow me and are like, I want to do what you do. And truthfully, none of us know what we're doing. Like, we can all have our technical expertises. We can all, no matter how long you've been in this industry, the imposter syndrome just truly never ever goes away. And even with however many Twitter followers I have and, streams that I do or accolades I get, I'm still just like, this is a mistake, right? Like, this clearly someone's going to take off my Scooby Doo mask, and point out that I do not belong here. And I'll be honest with you, I get a lot of flack online and even personally. People reach out to me all the time and they really don't like me. They don't like the stuff that I do, and that's part of being a visible person online. But I think the hardest part has been finding self confidence. And I know it looks like I'm very confident, but I have a 4-year theater degree. So I'm usually just internally screaming, even though I have a smile on my
Oh,
face. But yeah, I would say imposter. I didn't even know what imposter syndrome was before I got into tech. Like, why would I even, like, it just never was something in my vocabulary, but like, the hardest thing for me has been like to trust myself that I know what I'm doing, because like 95% of the time I'm like doing a good job. So much of like what stops me is second guessing or worrying what other people are going to think,
mhm.
or literally reading what other people think about me. I've read essays on Reddit, Twitter, subtweets about myself that like really hurt my feelings. I think people forget a lot that people online are real people. So yeah, I think the hardest part for me has been just like finding my confidence, because you can, like, I think that a lot of what people see is very different than what goes on behind the scenes, and getting over imposter syndrome has probably been the hardest part. So if you're feeling like you don't belong, or
Mm.
you're like, what the heck am I doing here, or oh my god, people are going to find out I'm a total phony, I'm teaching myself how to code and like no one's ever going to take me seriously as a developer, you're not alone. This is like, what
It's
we do is really
everyone.
hard. And
It's literally everyone.
yeah, and I think, it's hard for people, especially who are first starting out, to hear that from people like us, Daniel, who have jobs, who've been working in this industry as long as we have. But like, truthfully, it's every single day I'm just like, oh my God, how has nobody figured out, like, I don't know what I'm doing? I I think it manifests in different ways for different people. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's my best advice for anybody who's out there feeling those kind of things is there's therapy is great. Love therapy.
Therapy is great.
Therapy is amazing. I have ADHD, so having ADHD coaches has been really helpful for me. I have really just awful, malicious, unrelenting standards that sometimes just paralyze me in fear from being able to do things like streaming or writing a technical blog post or whatever that may be. So, yeah, just like being like alive can be terrifying, especially in tech when you don't have a degree or you're self-taught or whatever that may be. So I'm really, really excited for the folks that we're going to have on this show to not only highlight the awesome things that they're doing and going to be doing in tech, but to also kind of share their insecurities and their stories because you're not alone. Like this is hard. Like being vulnerable with your work and being public about it is terrifying. And I always think about, I don't know if anybody in the chat has seen Uncle Buck, but there's this there's this scene in Uncle Buck where it's like a 5-second scene. I just remember it because I used to see it on Disney Channel all the time. And he is like, a lot of people don't like this hat. I'll tell you about that later on the drive home. And I think about that a lot because sometimes people will just literally look at me or see a picture of me and discredit me immediately. I have bright orange hair. I wear lots of pink. I get comments all the time on YouTube that are like just some of the worst things I've ever read in my life about how I look, how I act, how I sound, and jokes on them because I'm already mean to myself in my head all the time. They don't need to be writing these things about me. But just know, like it people are awful, especially in an anonymous type forum like YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, whatever it may be. But imposter syndrome is a B, and hang in there.
Definitely. Well, yeah. I think that kind of wraps up my lightning round. How was that, Chloe?
It was good, but can I have a mini? I mean, we've been on for a while now. Let's see, what time is it? Do you have to go anywhere, Daniel? We've been
Nope.
streaming and dreaming. Okay, let me check my schedule quick because I would like to ask some questions to you, Daniel.
Oh, okay. That's
But
fun.
before I do, I am just making sure because we started a little late that I am not dropping the ball on my lovely teammates at Microsoft. This is the beauty of starting a new show and starting it late. Okay. Oh, I already missed it. It's okay. I'll watch the recording. Okay. So, Daniel,
What's up?
I have a question for you. So our paths are very, very different.
Mhm.
You went to UC Davis. Shout
I
out to
did.
Davis. Tell
Woo.
me about your tech origin story. How did you get interested in tech and how did you decide to get your degree and what you got it in?
Yeah, so I got my degree. I got a dual degree in computer engineering and electrical engineering
See, that's so
because
cool. I'm jealous of that. You said I'm cooler. That's cool to me.
I mean, it's cool until you realize that I was imagining like robots, like blinking lights, the exciting stuff that I saw in movies.
Okay,
What
okay.
actually it is just a bunch of math. And I'm like,
Oh
wow,
no.
that's so the branding, whoever did the marketing for that major needs a raise because we were going in just expecting robots, exciting, blinking lights.
Like,
Just
were you wanting to do like Disneyland animatronics or
yes.
okay, yes, yes.
Like building roller coasters. Like I was into all that. I was like, I want to make robots that just like follow me around. I was a child back then, which was like literally 3, 4 years ago. So I was like walking and expecting to do that. And it was not that. But once I realized that, it was too late. So I was like, I guess it's too late for me to
Yeah.
change my major. So I was doing electrical engineering and I realized I hated what I was doing because it was so theoretical and I didn't really see myself making an impact with the work I was doing in college. So that's kind of why I kind of asked myself, I had a midlife crisis literally 3 months into college, being like, what do I want to do with my life? And I was examining these classmates I had, and a lot of them were better than me objectively at coding. They were better than me at math. Like there were all these really smart people around me. I was like, how am I going to compete with these people? I had very severe imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
But then what I realized was I'm really good at organizing and doing things and building programs, like working with really smart people. So that's kind of why I started a student org that is what is now Bit Project back in college, because I was like, how am I going to show all these potential employers that I'm really good at my job without perhaps having an internship at a really prestigious place or having the best GPA? So my path to tech is kind of weird because I figured out very early that DevRel is what I wanted to do. So it's not like Chloe where she was a theater major. I had a very clear goal in the very early starting beginning of my career to be like, I want to pursue DevRel because I went to a conference and there was free food and I was like, I'm sold. Just sign me up. Like free food, free drink. I was underage at the time. Don't tell anyone, but like no one carded me. So I got like a free beer like at a conference. Like I was like, I'm sold.
You
Free
know,
alcohol.
I always used to joke around. People used to say, like, if you went back in time, would you do everything the same way? And I wouldn't change anything. Like, I love how my life has panned
Uh-huh.
out for me. But my answer used to be, Daniel, like, yeah, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have gone to SF, San Francisco State University for theater. I would have learned how to code in like 2007, saved all my money for tuition, attended meetups, and just gotten a bunch of free pizza and beer, and then had a
Exactly.
big all my tuition money could have gone towards a down payment on a house circa 2008, and I would be a very wealthy woman. But it's so true. Like there's all this conference, the glory and excitement of conferences has always been alluring to folks to get into DevRel, I think.
Yeah, so the free food is really what got me. So I actually just torpedoed my way into DevRel because I was asking myself, how do I get a job doing this thing I would love, which is free food and drinks, and get to talk about really cool things for a stage for like 20 minutes and then hang out with some really cool people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I befriended Chloe. That's why I started connecting with a lot of people in the space, trying to get my foot in the door. And that's kind of how I started my march towards DevRel, and that's kind of how I got here was the free food. So I want to shout out Postman because like they were the first like, company conference that I've been to. They're the reason why I got into DevRel and even heard of the word DevRel. So I want to shout them out. We
Nice.
stand.
We
Yeah.
stand. Although, check the IDs at the door. Uh, and I think there's also sort of this, I think it's so strange that we make literal children when we graduate from high school when we're like 16, 17. I think I was
Uh-huh.
17 when I graduated from high school. And you're applying for jobs in college, at least I was, around you start thinking about it around the 16, 17-year-old age. I didn't
Mhm.
know anything when I was six. Like a little context on my backstory. My mom died when I was 15. I had bigger things on my mind about like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah, exactly.
And looking back, like I attended a performing arts high school. I was very much involved in the arts. No one ever sat down and said to me, like, do you know how much money you're going to make as a performing artist? Like these were never conversations that were had. And I just think it's so strange that as a society, we make people decide like, hey, go spend like multiple thousands of dollars on getting this degree because everybody else is doing it. Like I'm so jealous of
Mhm.
people who had the resources and thought to like, I'm going to travel abroad for a year or two. Like, would have loved to learn a little bit more about the world beyond my high school and Sacramento. And like, I think the furthest I'd ever travel was New York at that point. So it's such a strange task to put on children, literal children, like make a decision about what you're going to do for the rest of your life, which is why I'm so jealous of people like you, Daniel, who discovered tech earlier. I clearly discovered it a lot later, but that's what gets me so excited about these like mid like life career changers like the people we're going to have on this show is
Mhm.
like you and not even midlife life expectancy is a lot longer now, so I hope it's not midlife because I'm going to live 100 million years
Yeah,
but
we're all
yeah,
gonna be immortal. We're gonna be frozen and uploaded to the cloud. That's what I tell everyone. I'm gonna
yeah,
be in the cloud.
Austin Powers one style like Frozen and then Thawed. But yeah, like to put that on kids and be like,
Yeah.
hey, I know you want to like wouldn't it have been nice if we could have like you could have tested the waters a little bit, see if like robotics was something that you really wanted to do. But
Exactly.
it's a weird thing. I don't like it. I think we need to stop it. We need to let people like
Live.
explore, live their
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah, but I think I was just super lucky because I know that other folks' journey to tech wasn't as smooth sailing as mine, because I figured out what I was good at and what my passion was early on in my career instead of like 4 years into a job that I really hated. So I
Yeah.
got really lucky.
Yeah. And then how, like, you said that you attended this event that got you,
Mhm.
that kind of taught you what DevRel was, got you interested in it, and you're now working as a DevRel. What was that experience like interviewing to become a DevRel? Like, what did you change to like kind of change your career focus over?
So to be honest, I didn't have to change anything because my hobby is DevRel.
That's
That's what I do for my free time. So companies really like it when your hobby is also what they want you to do because that means you'll be working twice as much for the same company. So I really never had to change. I just had to tell them what I was doing and they were like hooked because I was really in a fortunate situation where I had a lot of folks who believed in what I was doing and kind of saw the value in my take on DevRel because I think everyone has a different interpretation of what DevRel is and what like you do to communicate with the community. And
yeah.
I was fortunate because I never had to change myself or my point of view because everyone I've had so far as a boss or who I've interviewed have all kind of been really welcoming and non-dismissive of my unique point of view. So to that question, I've been super lucky and I haven't had to change anything, which has been great.
That's so great to hear. I always find that the people who make some of the best, like not even just DevRel content, but technical content. If you're not following Steffi G on Instagram, gosh, so many amazing people that I know. Like Daniel Baskin is one of them who make like very fun, interesting projects for fun, like you can always feel the enthusiasm behind, like there's such a difference, right, between like hashtag enterprise, hashtag sales as a service, hashtag like very corporate-y marketing things to like authentic, fun projects, connections, pieces, talks. Like I loved, if PJ's still in the chat, he gave a talk that was like inspiration is, or something is the inspiration of learning, that's all about like, you know, his experience as a teacher as applied to like teaching people technical topics. And I just think the more vulnerable we are and the more that we like share the things that we're actually excited about versus what our company wants us to be excited about, like that shows through completely. And I think yeah, that's, it shows through in your work with all the stuff you're doing. So,
Yeah, I think that's kind of goes back to my point of don't try to be something you're not. Just
yeah.
try to emphasize the hell out of what you're good at because I could not be a Chloe and Chloe couldn't be me. You know, we're two separate people.
I
And
watch
even
90
if
Day
I
Fiance. He watches Bling Empire. It's two different aesthetics. Okay.
okay, those are like very similar though. Like that's
Very
not really
similar.
proving a point. It's like related. It's like cousins. But I mean, even if I wore all the pink I own, I wouldn't be as pink as Chloe, you know? Like
And
I
that's
could
what
never get to
drives
that
me
level.
absolutely crazy about like, okay, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a minute. There is room for everyone in this industry. And I'm clapping for emphasis because what I do is what, like Daniel said, so different than what other people do. Like my Twitch stream is going to consist of like taking toys apart, which is my weird passion. I have all my old McDonald's toys from when I was a kid. I craft a lot. I wear a lot of pink. I can rub people the wrong way. I can be very obnoxious to the wrong group of people, but no one can make what I can make. Just in the same way, if either of us were to write an autobiography, it would be a completely different story. And so
Mhm.
anytime that I see people who are commenting things like, this is stupid, you know, on my YouTube videos, or like, I hate this project, I'm like, great. There's so much content on the entire internet that you can go watch. This is not for you then. And I think that the more like diverse perspective, cool projects like Lorena, who we're going to have on the show next week, clown turned software engineer. Can you imagine these awesome projects she's going to be building? Like, or PJ and I, we built Shania Bot. Who else was going to build Shania Bot? But I'm here to say there is room for everyone. Like, stop shitting on other people's stuff. Like, what I do can't be made by anybody else. What Daniel makes can't be done by anybody else. Like, You don't have to comment. If you don't like it, I mean, if it's hateful or something, sure, voice your opinion, say, get off parlor sex. That I'll just say that. But I will also say, you know, if you notice that you don't like someone or you're talking badly about them, and search inside yourself. You may be feeling a little bit of jealousy issues. But the truth is, there's no need to be jealous. Everyone is so different and everyone brings such diverse perspective to this industry. There's room for everybody. So it makes me so excited. I tuned into Daniel's stream. When was that? A couple days ago. And you were learning about improv. Who else in tech is learning about improv? Like Daniel. So there's room for everyone. And stop being, just let people make cool, fun things. That's my soapbox moment. Anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox.
Yeah, what happened to like not saying anything if you don't have anything nice to say, you know?
Exactly. Like from Bambi, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. But yeah, I think that like that's so true. Is like we talked earlier on the stream about bringing your authentic self to tech and finding your gimmick. And you know, I think a lot of people, I read this book. Oh my gosh, it's something called like You Are a Badass and something. It's a yellow book that I would see all the time in airports and stuff, but I've been reading it on my Kindle. And it was saying like try to find people that you want to emulate or be like find your inspirations and people that you want to look up to. And it said if you're having trouble looking for those people, look to people that you feel jealous of, because oftentimes the people we're jealous of have things that we want. And I went, oh, like not only did it click some things for me, I'm like, that's why that person annoys me, but also it made me go, oh, maybe these people who are saying really shitty, mean things about me are just really rude and have some things that they need to sort through in therapy about why they're feeling that. So, oh, yes, it's called You Are a Badass by Jen Sinnero. Yes, it's a great book. It's a short read too, so highly recommend checking it
So
out.
are you saying that because I'm jealous of that baby from Bling Empire?
You should be a baby. You should try being a baby, maybe.
I am
Yeah.
so down.
But like I think about like, you know, I'm not taking this call from my desk right now, but on my, you know, in front of my monitor that I have downstairs, I have
Mhm.
Funko Pops of all the people who inspire me. And let me see
Mhm.
if I can remember all of them. I have Trixie Mattel, skinny legend Trixie Mattel. I have Jim Henson. Who else do I have? Oh my gosh, this is gonna drive me crazy. Oh, Conan O'Brien. Oh my gosh. Now I'm totally blanking on the other two. I want to get the Mr. Rogers one because I think that one's really cool. But they're all like people that I want to like bring that enthusiasm and awesomeness. Like I want to be those kind of people. So
Mhm.
I think like the more that you can like mold, I mean, of course I'm not sitting here stewing being like I'm so jealous of Jim Henson, how dare he have a successful puppet empire. But like when you find that, when you, oh, Pee-wee Herman is another one that I have on there.
Mhm.
But try to find like what that is for you. And you're not going to be like, people can say like, oh, she's the next Elle Woods or the next Pee-wee Herman, but like you don't want to be the next Elle Woods or Pee-wee
No,
Herman.
but you are the next Elle Woods, though.
But I
Like,
want to be Chloe. I want people to be like the like other people to say the next, like you got to create. I always wanted to play Elle Woods. It was my dream role. Never got to audition for it. Never got cast as it. But now I just want to be the Elle I wish to see in the world. You know, like
can we make
bring it in.
technically? Can we make you know, like it's legally blonde? Can we make technically ginger or
I I wrote a blog post once called Programmatically Blonde, I think, that may exist out there somewhere. But I think like that's the thing, right? Like once I identified like, oh, maybe it's not that I want to play Elwoods. Maybe it's that I want to like have a similar journey to Elwoods. You know what I mean? Like finding what that is for you and being like, oh, I thought I wanted to play this part, but it turns out I just wanted to do a similar thing and be the Elwoods of this industry or whatever that may be for you. Maybe you, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe you watch 90 Day Fiance and you're like, these people are cuckoo crazy. I'm gonna, no, that's a bad example. I'm trying to think of
yeah,
like,
let's not
what?
do that.
Oh no, we like Drag Race. So Daniel and I are huge RuPaul's Drag Race fans. We're not huge fans of RuPaul because we're anti-fracking, but we're very big fans of the art of drag. And I think, you know, when I see people competing on Drag Race, I'm always so inspired by like the looks that they craft together and things like that. So once I identified like, interesting, like maybe I want to start doing cosplay because I'm very inspired by these people who like literally from a challenge where it's like go to the thrift store, buy all the $1 stuff you can buy and like make an outfit out of it. Like find those things that like inspire you. What's that for you, Daniel? Outside of tech? What's your like outside of tech thing?
I think what really inspires me is other people's accomplishments. So I really like reading like autobiographies of
Yes.
or biographies of amazing people who do amazing things. Like one of my role models is Malala,
Yeah.
who the Nobel Prize. Also, she's friends with my favorite YouTuber, which is like a mind-blowing moment for me because there's this YouTuber named V that I was following since she had like 10K followers on YouTube, and now she's like huge. But I knew her back when she wasn't famous. But it turns out that she was roommates with Malala, and she posts vlogs with Malala in it, and
Wow.
she like eats like fish and chips with Malala, and it's like the weirdest thing I've ever seen
Dream.
because like I forget that Malala is like not old. Like I always like think about like really awesome people who do awesome things that's like very decorated, but I forget that they are like human too. Like they go
Yeah.
eat chips.
I
Like
read a
that's a
lot of
thing.
autobiographies as well because I think like I'm re-listening to Tina Fey's
Oh, I
autobiography,
love TK. Yeah.
um, which has aged interestingly, but now I'm reading it at a completely different part of my life. Nell Scovell's audiobook I'm doing a re-listen to because I think it's really important to like hear stories about other people and not only just like get inspired from them, but also realize like, oh, this was hard for them. Like it's that iceberg of success thing that we were talking about earlier. Like we see like I last night actually I love to watch interviews with like celebrities like talking about things from their past, and I somehow ended up down this rabbit hole of Kristen Wiig videos,
Hmm.
and I was watching her video from inside the actor's studio, and there was this clip where she tells this very funny story of, I wanted to go to LA, and I was, I knew that I really wanted to go, and then I went to this psychic and I was feeling really uneasy about it, and the psychic told me I should go to LA, and like it was random and I had already decided, but like hearing those very honest, vulnerable stories about. I just read Abby. Oh my God, I'm gonna totally embarrass myself. Broad City Abby. What is her name? Abby.
Oh, Abby.
Broad City. Abby Jacobson has a wonderful, wonderful book called "I Might Regret This," which is a autobiographical piece about her going through a breakup and then traveling across country and kind of finding herself.
Hmm.
And of course, I wasn't going through a breakup when I read it, but there was so much in just reading about her experience creating Broad City and putting it together and like how that happened that sometimes you need to read. I also just read this Pee Wee Herman. It's not an autobiography, but it's kind of a historical biography. Oh, yes, Yes, Please by Amy Poehler is also a really great read. But reading Abby's story about going through this breakup and her reminiscing on like, we started Broad City as this, we weren't getting cast in the shows at UCB. So we made this video series, and then the video series, Amy Poehler picked it up and, helped us shop it around. And sometimes you have to hear these stories about how these things started to realize like, oh, these were normal people who did really incredible things. Like Pee Wee Herman, the character started in a groundlings class in Los Angeles, eventually became this sort of like hush hush underground performance art piece, which then turned into a movie, which turned into a children's television show. And so I'm the same way, Daniel. I listen to so many autobiographies on Audible and I read them because sometimes we have to remember that these people, these like celebrities or people that we look up to, um, are normal humans who just like went out and did it. They did the thing. And Yes, Please by Amy Poehler is a wonderful read. I love that one. Um, let's see. Ooh, you just commented Daniel on everything, Daniel.
It seems like my speaker is not working all of a sudden. So I might have you
Shut it
take
down.
over for a second while I figure out some technical difficulties.
I can hear you. So,
So I cannot hear you, but you can hear me.
oh, okay.
One
Well,
second. I'll be
We're streaming. Okay, what questions do you have for Daniel or me as we wait for Daniel's? We're going to be wrapping up a little bit here soon, but this is going to be a weekly show. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday. Probably not this long. We started a little bit late today, but we are going, if you're just joining us now, we are going to be having people on this show. It's called AdoptaDev. This is just sort of our intro pilot show so people know who the heck we are and why we're doing this. But this show will basically exist beyond this episode to showcase and highlight really, really awesome non-traditional background
Am I
folks who
back?
are, and he's
That is
back.
the question.
But yeah, if you know anybody who's job searching,
So
who's maybe
apparently I am not back.
self-taught, okay, I can
One
hear
sec.
you, but he can't hear me. Okay, the beauty of technical difficulties. But this will basically exist as a showcase to showcase really awesome, fantastic people who are doing cool things in tech. And we're going to let the wider audience adopt them and hire them at their own companies based on these awesome videos that we will make. But we've been streaming for almost 2 hours. I'm proud of us. This is a long
Yeah,
stream.
this was really fun. Wait, I just got a question about Bit Project, so I can just talk about it for a second.
Yes, go for it.
So Bit Project is a student organization turned nonprofit that I founded when I was a college student to show companies how good I was at DevRel. Then I got super attached to it. So now it's like my baby project that I work on every moment I'm not working on my job. So basically what it is the problem is that a lot of students out of college don't have the experience they need to be successful engineers because we learn a lot of the theory, but you don't actually get to work with any of the technologies we use in the industry. So what we do is we partner with awesome people like Chloe. That's how we met. We partner with awesome people like Chloe to introduce students to really cool technologies. So with Chloe, we did it with Azure Function. So we have these students go through a couple of weeks of curriculum that we have designed like by students, and then they learn the essential skills like how to work with Azure Functions, how to work with GitHub, how to open terminal, how to like work with
How to
VS Code.
download, yeah, Visual Studio Code, how to have the proper extensions, like these things that really there's a lot of assumed knowledge in the industry that I think is overlooked. So literally last night we just went over VS Code extensions, how to make your first Azure function. We even dove into like why are regions important when like selecting, an area for your server to be. So yeah, such needed content.
Yeah, we teach these skills that are obvious to a lot of software engineers that have been in the industry, but they are not obvious to people who are trying to get started. So we try to bridge, and then what they do after they learn the essential skills is they go build their own project in 3 to 4 weeks, based using the skills they learned in the first couple of weeks of like going through the curriculum. So folks have built like beer detectors. They built really cool. Students have built like an EPA electricity monitoring app. Like these students are amazing, and we just try to equip students with the skills they need to make their own apps, ship their first project, and yeah, that's what we do.
We had
And
another great question here that says, I just wish I had ideas for passion projects. I have passions outside of tech, but I have no idea how to utilize tech that would tie into those passions, and it keeps me from doing cool projects. Any advice? So, yeah, I guess my way that I think about this, and maybe my brain is a little bit different since I my brain, my left side of my brain is my creative side of my brain is always thinking of these ways when I learn about new Azure technologies or like a Twilio thing that I can do. Um, my brain always goes to comedy for whatever reason. You'll notice that a majority of my projects, demos, blog posts, things that I do are kind of silly, quirky. Shania Bot is a great example of that. I literally just keep a little like in my notes app in my phone. I'll be walking around and I'll be like, "Oh, that's weird. That person isn't wearing their mask over their nose. What if I like use the Microsoft Face API to like detect and have a go off if that happens?" I think like a lot of the inspiration personally that I get is from not being out and about per se, because we're staying from home these days, but I'll be watching a YouTube video and see something like, oh, here's one. So I used to get really annoyed in the airport how close everybody would be. I'm hoping that a nice thing that will happen because of all of this COVID-19 happening is people will respect personal space a little bit more. But my initial thought was like, oh, what if I use like an IoT type thing that could detect how close people are to me, and then it could like put off a wah, wah, wah. Or my Roomba. We have one of those robot vacuums that docks itself and cleans out the air. I'll just write a little note that'd be like, oh, it'd be really funny if like after the Roomba sucks up all the dirt that it burped. Like maybe I could build like an IoT monitoring thing that would make my Roomba play a burp sound. Or I'll see an image of the Beauty and the Beast rose and I'll think like, ooh, what if I made a doorbell that was like the Beauty and the Beast rose that like lit up? So a lot of it is just like weird, quirky things that I think up on the go. What about you, Daniel? How do you think of like different, fun tech ideas and projects?
Yeah, so I have a really good tip for this because I actually ran across the same problem. So if you're not as creative or as kind of have these ideas running around in your brain like Chloe does, what you can do is you can go to people like your friends or family and be like, what kind of problems do you have?
Yes. Ooh,
Or
there's
you
such
can
a great example of that with Bo's project from Bit Project.
exactly.
Tell them about Bo's project. It's like one of my
Yeah.
faves.
So Bo built a IoT heartbeat monitor for his grandfather because his heart health is not doing that well. So he wanted to build an alert system where if his heart rate went above a certain level, it would alert his entire family and be
Such a
like,
cool
"Hey,
project.
Grandpa is not doing so well. We should go check up on him." Like
And I
those are
think
the type of projects that I think are really cool.
that's the advice that we were given as well during Hackbrite when we were building our final project. They kind of told us, like, try to think of a problem that needs to be solved. And if you can't think of a problem, go to your friends, family members, try to like identify like problems in tech that can be, or problems in the world that can be solved by tech. And I remember in Hackbrite, we had such a wide range. Oh my gosh. So like my final project was a delayed social media status posting app because I wanted to like use the Facebook API and the Twitter API to like tweet at a future specific time that I could specify. But then other people in my cohort had completely like amazing, diverse, interesting ideas. Like one person was using an API to detect what local businesses accepted food stamps to be able to
Mm.
help people who need to use food stamps to buy their food and have like a visual map for that. One of my favorite projects was by Charlie McLean, who found an API that had UFO sighting data, and she mapped it on a map of the United States of like, and she was able to extract the data of like, oh, interesting, on Thursdays at like 6 p.m. there's more UFO sightings in this area where meth is very prominent. So there's so many cool things that you can do and build. So I agree with Daniel. Like ask around. Like my dad is not great with technology, but he'll come up with problems that are like, he has a place that has a garage door that it's hard to tell, he's afraid of opening it up and down. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Maybe I could build like an IoT thing that could, beep after a certain amount of time if the garage door is left open, or, going to these people like Bo, for example, with his grandfather, like if the heart rate goes up and down. When I was first developing apps, when I was interviewing, I was starting to build stage management software because everything in theater is on paper. And I was basically in the process of making this gamified check-in app thing that actors and stage managers could work with. So look beyond even your own problems, because you probably already have solved your own technical problems. But yeah, go to your pals, ask them like, what can I help you with? What can I build? Drag queens, another thing. A thing that I'm looking to build is, it's hard. Well, back in the in-person days, if you go to a drag club, it's pretty standard to give money as a tip. Like it's a performance thing. The
Mhm.
drag queens are lip syncing and they take money. A problem that I've thought through is, okay, we're going to go back to the regular times, and people are probably going to be a little bit more scared to have touch and interaction. Why not have some sort of beacon thing that you can tag to, so there's less transfer of hands and money? Like there's so many problems out there, especially in communities like the arts, LGBT communities, the industries that don't have the technical resources or the money, museums as well, nonprofits, that could really, really benefit from technical expertise. So any nonprofits out there that need website help or anything like that are a great place to look as well.
Also, something else you could do is you could tell all of your non-technical friends that you work in tech, and then they will send you all of their technical issues. They will be
That's
like, "Hey,
true.
Daniel, my computer won't turn on. What do I do?" Like, you get all these problems. So, like you can get inspiration by all of their questions as well. Be like, how do I make this problem not happen so they don't call me anymore at 2 a.m. trying to fix the computer because I cannot fix a computer remotely.
One of my favorite projects that was built off of my own project. So I used to give a workshop of my fake boyfriend app. I would travel around to different places like Toronto and New York and
Mhm.
give it to different teams and meetups and stuff like that. And I did one at the Microsoft Reactor in New York, and we had a couple folks show up. And my favorite part about doing this fake boyfriend app workshop was I would tell people, I built a fake boyfriend, but you can build anything that you want. Like, it doesn't have to be a fake boyfriend. It could be fake daughter. It could be fake, boss, fake pager duty call, whatever you want it to be. And one
Mhm.
of my favorite read versions, it's all open source, that happened
Mhm.
was in this workshop, a girl used the project to make a Smash Mouth on demand app. So when you texted
Wow.
the number, it would text you the lyrics to Smash Mouth's All Star. When you called it, it
Mhm.
would sing Smash Mouth All Star, and then Smash Mouth retweeted her project and said Techstar. So, like, you can get creative with your projects, and Smash Mouth might retweet you, is the moral of the story. But there's so many awesome, cool open source projects out there that you could also repurpose to make really cool things with. So, like, maybe you see my Mario Kart astrology project and you're like, I want to do that with Rick and Morty, or like Mario, Luigi's Mansion characters, or whatever that may be. So inspiration is all around us. That would be my advice. Try to look
Yeah.
to people who need help.
People are amazing. So ask them. They're a resource.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the show. We talked about a lot of things. Again, this is more of a pilot episode, the get to know the host
Host.
episode. It will be a lot more structured and organized starting next week. This is more a little chat and a banter sesh. We, of course, are going to have Lorena next week, Hackbrite
Mhm.
graduate, former professional clown turned dev. Although, I guess not former clown. You're always a clown if you're a clown. Clown forever. Um, and yeah, Daniel, any parting words before our first little
Yeah.
stream together ends?
So yeah, again, please DM AdoptaDev if you know of anyone who would benefit from being featured on our platform. And also, if you're a recruiter or a hiring manager, or if you know a hiring manager or a recruiter, please tell them to follow us on Twitter so they can get notified every time there's a stream, so you can find the next Chloe and Daniel at your company. Because
Yes.
who wouldn't want another Chloe and Daniel at their company, you know?
Sounds exhausting to have another clue. But I don't know. But yeah, we'll be doing this every Tuesday at 10.
Uh-huh.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to get notifications when we go live.
We're
And
professionals.
we are super profesh. You can look forward to a bunch of fun marketing and branding from us coming soon. And thanks for joining us today, y'all. How do we end the show? How should we
Yeah.
end the show?
So next week we're gonna have playoff music, but we don't have that. So we might have to
Okay, okay.
improv some play out music.
Okay. I can do this. I'm gonna
You got this.
wait. I saw a very great TikTok the other day where a girl from Ratatouille the musical did the Hoedown song and asked Wayne Brady to do it with her. I don't know if I can do it that well, but how?
This is
Okay,
what your theater career has been all leading up to.
okay. I'm gonna think of what we talked about. We talked about so many things. Um, wait, it was AdoptaDev. The
Yeah.
AdoptaDev. Uh,
The
AdoptaDev.
Dev.
Open your bev. We learned some things about Daniel and Chloe. Cheers with your bev.
LaCroix.
Yeah, LaCroix did
Please
not.
sponsor us.
Please sponsor us. We would love to be sponsored. And we love all of you. I'm gonna